What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Unite for Noobs. I am Crunchus, and today, again, I'm being joined by my co-host for this series, SoLow. How you doing today, SoLow?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'd complain, but realistically, there's caffeine, so why would I?
It's just
What's up,
uh,
everybody in chat? Hi, GoatCon. Hi, Vision. Hi, Nanera. Hi, Gara. Hi, Gray. Hi, Gray. You love my hair? Okay, so my
Gray.
hair was a complete accident, just so you know. And honestly, like I think I'm in love with this unicorn, like this unicorn mermaid vibe thing that's going on. So I don't know.
Oh, all right.
Well, welcome in everyone. I'm really excited about today's episode because I know that this is something in particular that I've asked Solo about. Getting a better understanding of the roles and how they function in a team. So I am going to toss it to you, Solo, to kind of set the stage for what we're going to be going over today. And kind of just, we can get right into it. As always, if you do have questions for Solo, you can use the chat command !question, and it will put you into the queue. And then also, Solo, if you want to tell the people a little bit about the coaching that you offer.
Oh, yep. I am going to be offering coaching. I've actually currently do. I've coached a couple different people that are actually already in here. Gray being one of them. She's put her through some some support training. But I offer training for beginner to intermediate players. Anybody looking to get better at the game. And yeah, if you can get a hold of me on Twitch or Discord, we can set up a day. I'm very, very reasonably priced when it comes to coaching. Honestly, I'm doing it mostly just to help the community and doing it for the least amount of money for my time. So that's basically, honestly, I promise it's a pretty good deal.
We love that. And also, just to remind everybody that if you miss any part of today's episode because of ads, I have no control over that, so I apologize. Or if you've missed any section of this, or if you have to go, or if, AO's Cup takes priority, obviously, or, if you just want to get a more in-depth dive into what it is that we're going over today in terms of topics and key points, Solo will be posting an in-depth review or an in-depth video on the topics that we are covering today in his Beginners to Master series on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, I at the end of the excuse me, end of the stream today, I will be uploading the video for episode 3 of Beginner to Master. It's roles and sub roles, and basically it's the understanding of what you're supposed to be doing in a match with the role that you pick.
We love this. So if you want information on coaching or if you want Solo's YouTube link, I believe it's just !coaching. Otherwise, if you have a question, again, !question. And hi, Anbu. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hi, AJ. Okay, Solo. Let's get into it. What do you have for us today, friend?
All right, so we are going to be starting with a basic overview of the 5 roles inside of Unite, and then we're going to get into a couple different sub roles, basically like what certain mons specialize in as
Oh,
opposed to
hey,
other
Solo.
ones. What's that?
I'm sorry. I'm being asked to wait. Scar said there's something extremely important before we get started.
Oh boy.
I apologize. What happened, Gara?
Very important.
What? What's going on?
Wait.
What is going What is What did you guys do? Fucking Gara, I swear to God.
Oh man,
You guys
it's not.
conspired
It's not
against me.
cups.
You guys conspired against me. Is that what just happened? Did you guys? You guys, Okay, first of all, I have places to be. Second of all, these lashes are new. Oh fuck. Y'all, okay,
I'm excited. I want to know what this is.
I'm
I'm like,
legitimately you guys. I'm legitimately concerned now. Panda is just super proud of himself right now.
oh, that he hid it
What
from
is
you.
this? Yep.
Well, don't keep us in suspense.
What is the matter with you guys? What is the matter with you guys? Why? Why? You guys. Oh, God.
Aw, that's actually very sweet. That's super cool. That is what you call it? Is that the big mouse pad, right?
I hate you guys.
What up, baby?
Oh my
Amber
God.
Lord 8 TV just gifted 1 subs.
Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. You guys got me. Oh, fuck. Congratulations. You guys got me. Thank you, Gara. Thank you. I'm gonna put it out today, and I will take pictures of it and post it for you guys to see later. Thank you guys. Okay. Uh moving on.
Uh, I know you were looking at it, but Ambu also gifted you a sub as
Oh
well.
my god, Anbu, thank you so much for the gifted sub to Tiddlywomp. Ambu's still in here dropping subs, even though there's no Pika Work emote anymore. I'm so sorry. But I
No,
appreciate you guys.
not the R.I.P. Pikatorg.
Yeah. Oh, Seven's in chat for my poor Pika Work emote. All right, SoLow, back to you,
All
friend.
right, all right. Let's start for real. All right. So basically, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be breaking down the 5 main roles in Pokemon Unite, and then we're gonna be kind of breaking it down even more from that to the sub roles that each they can basically fill multiple different roles. So we have first here we have our defenders. Let me pull it up on my end here.
What up, baby?
All right, so obviously these are commonly referred to as
Just
tanks.
Draggy gifted Gracilla
Usually
tier
have
subscription.
incredibly huge
Just
HP
Draggy
pools,
gifted a tier
made to
1
soak up
sub to Gracilla
damage,
T.
be your
They have
frontliner,
given 19 gift subs in the
all of that
channel.
fun stuff. They usually have a really decent form of crowd control, which is basically to stun the enemies, keep them from getting to your squishier Pokemon. Basically, you are the protector for your team. Pretty simple to understand for that one. Next, we have our attackers. They are your main damage dealers. They deal damage. They deal damage from range. They're usually referred to as squishies or carries. They have, excuse me. They usually have a very high attack stat, but a very low HP pool. So you want to kind of keep yourself spaced out and deal your damage as you can.
Am squishy.
And, yep, we have a bunch of squishy lovers in the chat. Next is our supporters. Supporters are. Oh, that was weird. I like zoomed in for a second there. So basically, you either are giving heals or you are hindering your opponents. You're giving buffs, debuffs, things of that nature. And usually they have some form of crowd control because a few supporters can be used as pseudo tanks. So they have some degree of crowd control. Next is all-arounders. These are your frontliners, your divers, your brawlers. They're usually pretty balanced across the board, except for Zacian, because Zacian.
Yeah, just don't Zacian.
Don't Zacian. Their abilities usually will offer them some form of decent mobility, and they have usually a few options for crowd controls, usually stuns or shoves, something to that nature. Last but not least, we got the speedsters. These are your assassins, very highly mobile, but very low HP pool. Their whole job is to get in, do a whole bunch of damage, get out, trying to pick up 1 or 2 KOs on the way out. But now this is all stuff that obviously like a lot of people already know. This is the basics of what the roles are. But what a lot of people don't seem to know about is the sub roles. So like there's a difference in attackers, like you have your Cinderaces and then you have your Gardevoirs. They're both in the attacker role, but they do 2 completely different things. So the first sub role that we're going to talk about are ADCs, or your attack damage carries. So these are whenever you hear somebody refer to A-pressers, that's what they're talking about.
These are them?
Basically they sit at their max of their range, and they basically just rain in damage with their basic attacks. The button mashers, yeah. The kind of button mashers, but just one button in particular. But
just so long as you mash the shit out of that button.
The poster child for ADCs is Cinderace, because you're just sitting at the max amount of your range. You're sitting there, you're pressing A for your basic attacks as fast as possible, repositioning with Blaze Kick, and then continuing to do that so that you can't be dove on top of. Now you're going to see a couple in here, like the only one that I put in here that I was like kind of half and half on, because they are kind of an ADC, but they're also kind of a mage, is Glaceon. Glaceon, you do a lot of basic attacks to build up your ice crystals, and then you do one big ability to get your bursts. But you are basic attacking a lot, so it kind of like falls into the half and half role.
Hi, how are you?
The other one is Hyper Beam Dragonite. It's the only all-arounder on here. But your whole deal with a Hyper Beam Dragonite is that you're going to be basic attacking, building up your Dragon Dance, basic attacking, building up your Dragon Dance, and then unleashing your Hyper Beam. So you're kind of keeping everybody at the max amount of your range until you can build up your Hyper Beam. But yeah, these are, and if you actually look in the physical attacker role, the only physical attackers throughout the entire attacker role are ADCs. They're the ones that are more or less what you're trying to play in the jungle role. You want them to hit their power spikes. You want them to carry, things of that nature. So moving right along to staying in the same role for the most part are your mages. Now, unlike ADCs who like to basic attack a lot, mages are more focused on their abilities. So, you have Cinderace who will sit back and kick fireballs at everybody. And then you have Espeon who will use Psyshock, Psybeam, and then will kind of dip out of the fight for a second and then come back once Psyshock and Psybeam are back up. So you have 2 Mons that like to play at extreme range, but they have 2 different play styles. You have one that you need to keep in the fight and keep A pressing, and then you have one that you need to play around your cooldowns a lot. So, or else they're basically just a sitting duck. Unless you play Mew, because Mew can get out of anything and everything.
Yeah,
So,
I think Mew has the most mobility because of the built-in dash and agility, right? And surf.
right, yeah. So Mew kind of has a little bit of everything just because it has 6 moves. So, it has a dash, it has an execute, it has, like a big wide solar beam. Like, so it has a defensive move with light screen. Like, it's got a little bit of everything. So, Mew's a little bit of an outlier in that, but it is still considered a mage. It is supposed to be played at range. You're supposed to cast your abilities and play around your cooldowns. But yeah, and obviously for the 2 that I have marked, Surf Hurricane Cram. Obviously not a very popular Pokemon right now, not a very popular build right now, because it just kind of got power crept, but it is still considered a mage, and Solar Beam Venusaur is also considered a mage.
So can I ask a noob question?
Sure, go for it. That's why we're here.
Why would Solar Beam Venu be exclusively classified in the mage category as opposed to Giga Drain Pedal Dance?
All right. So a fun fact, at a base level, Venusaur does not have a lot of HP, like at all. So the reason that you can kind of brawl out with Giga Pedal is because of the resets that you get off of Pedal Dance and Giga Drain. So you can kind of just keep draining your opponent of their HP and keep yourself alive and keep fighting. But the thing is, on a base level, if you just go up, toe to toe with someone, Venusaur doesn't have a lot of health and it'll get taken out pretty easily. So when you pick Solar Beam, which is usually paired with Sludge Bomb, Solar Beam, you want to stay more at range, fire your abilities, and then, use your boosted attacks to keep people away from you. But it's more based in that mage style, that mage play style. So you're not going to run into a team fight and brawl with Solar Beam Venusaur. It's just you're going to get blown up immediately.
Got it. So it has more to do with the actual range and the ability as opposed to just the fact that Venusaur is technically classed as a ranged attacker.
Yeah, so what you're going to see in a lot of this is based on the moves that you pick, your Mon will actually fulfill like a different role for your team. So when you pick Solar Beam Venusaur, you're fulfilling that mage role. But when you pick Giga Drain and Pedal Dance, you're almost filling an all-arounder role for your team. So, it may have the attacker background and it may be labeled as an attacker, but you're playing it like an all-arounder. So
Okay. That makes sense. That's why you're able to get up in people's faces when you run Pedal Dance and Giga Drain as opposed to
that's why
ranged shots.
Yeah, that's why if you play Giga Pedal Venu with a Comfey, it just never dies. Like fighting a Venusaur with a Comfey on it is miserable.
Can confirm. I will admit I have been pocketed by Comfey as a Venusaur, and it doesn't die.
It is. I have I actually have a category for Giga Pedal, so don't worry.
Hey, SoLow, will you do me a favor and just let me know, according to your outline, when you're ready to stop for questions that might be in the queue, because we do have one that's in the queue.
All right, yeah. We're kind of we kind of summarized attackers as a whole right now with ADCs and mages. So yeah, we can address the question.
Okay, fantastic. So let's start with AJ. AJ, go ahead and put your question in the chat for us, please. Will laning for the different roles and sub roles be talked about?
laning for them. So basically, you're talking about like where they should be positioned in on the like when you're calling your lane. Are you taking it to jungle? Are you taking it to lane? Things of that.
I would assume like determining which lane you're going to run with. If you want to be with an attacker or not an attacker, if you want to run with a, what role mon works best with what role mon in which lane. Yeah,
Right,
so
right.
that's what AJ was saying is like how are you determining your lane basically based on your role?
Okay, so that actually comes down to a couple different factors. You obviously want to synergize your lanes, which we will talk about that later with team synergy. You want to synergize your lanes, but as far on like a base level of like, should I take this into lane or should I take this into the jungle? You want to make sure that one, Pokemon that have very high power spikes, like very like late evolutions where you have, your level 5, level 9. Like if you're supposed to be a carry, you want to make sure that you're hitting that last power spike as quickly as humanly possible. So that would be a Pokemon that you would consider taking into the jungle. So like is Cinderace, who has very bad last hitting, so he doesn't really have a burst move. If you take Cinderace into lane, you're gonna struggle 9 times out of 10. But if you take Cinder into the jungle, get all of that free farm, get yourself powered up to get to actually be
Hi, how are
Cinderace
you?
as quickly as humanly possible, then you're going to do a lot better. Now, as far as mages usually have a very good secure because they're supposed to be played in lane majority of the time. The only exception to that is really like Venusaur, who even Venusaur has like a good secure with its boosted basic attack.
Mm-hmm.
But Gardevoir is a huge one because Gardevoir doesn't really have a very good secure, unless you know how to time out your confusions well. Gardevoir doesn't really have a good secure, so it would make more sense to play Gardevoir in the jungle as opposed to in lane. But you have Espeon who learns Psyshock at level 4, and
Yes,
Psyshock
insane
just
secure.
takes everything.
Yep.
So it's more or less around that. Like a really popular one that people try to make work in lane, but like if you're playing against anybody that even knows what they're doing, they're gonna bully you, is Delphox. A lot of people try to make Delphox work in lane because it evolves at like 4 and 6. And they're like, oh, I can get those early power spikes, but what they don't remember is Fennekin doesn't have good last hitting with
Mm-hmm.
anything. It has a little bit of like a burst move, and with Slick Spoon, it's been a little better because you get a little more damage out. But at the end of the day, if you're laning your Fennekin against an Espeon, like that Espeon's just going to take everything from you. So it's more or less you want to make sure that you have something that can secure in lane. And most ADCs, we'll flip back here for a second. Most of these ADCs do not have good secures early.
Mm-hmm.
So even Duraludon, like I would have to say out of the ones I have up here, Duraludon would be the most likely to play in lane, and even then I wouldn't recommend it. Like there are just better things to take in lane.
Right. Right. So, Foxy has a question, and I don't know, Foxy, if that was the question that you had queued up to ask, but Foxy asked, what do you think about Espeon in the jungle? So, I think for me, and this might just be me, I don't know that there's necessarily a benefit to Espeon being in jungle just because it has such amazing secure that its ability to lane really kind of outshines the need for it to evolve because it does have early evolution and earlier power spikes. I would think that you could get enough XP to level up as an Espeon in lane regardless of which lane you chose as opposed to running jungle. Now, if you wanted to see 4 guaranteed, by first Bs, I would say take first rotation in jungle. But is there any benefit to running not Glaceon, but Espeon in jungle?
Espeon, okay, so that comes with kind of a little bit of a caveat. So like Espeon is very, very strong in lane early. It's actually probably the best laner in the game right now because of its secure. But the thing is that if you want to guarantee that you are that you want to be Espeon and then go into lane and bully, there is a good coordinated strategy for that, and it's splitting the jungle with another low evolution. Now, so if you have, like, let's say that you have Espeon and Glaceon on your team. If you take those two level 4 evolutions and you coordinate to split the jungle with someone, now you both hit your power spikes at level 4, and you can go into lane and bully. So that's more or less like, but to just take Espeon into the jungle, it almost seems like a waste of a really good laner. Like, there's nothing wrong with it per se. Like, there's never anything wrong with taking a mage into the jungle. It's just that there are a lot of they have a better position that they can fill.
Foxy, was that the question that you queued up to ask, or did you have another question that you wanted to ask? Because if not, we have one more question after Foxy's.
All right.
What if no one chooses Amon to go into a jungle?
What if nobody
That's a good
chooses
question.
Amon? Oh man, honestly, if nobody chooses, I've taken a tank into jungle when nobody does that. Like, that is, I'm being honest. It is better. Like, if you get into a situation where you get into a match and nobody has claimed the jungle, and you start going into the match and you realize that nobody is going to the jungle at all, just take it, regardless of who you are, regardless of what mon you picked. Just take it. Like, there is so much experience in the jungle that it is like you can't just let it sit there. Like, it's so
because then you just open yourself up to the possibility of a jungle invade from the opposing team too. Like, that's XP that's on the map that's essentially for your team. So if nobody's claiming it, you should realistically just get it off the map, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, whenever you have experience on your side of the map, you definitely want to claim it as quickly as possible, and leaving something as powerful as buffs on the map with nobody taking them is just you're throwing the match.
Okay. Prati, I see you in the queue with a question, friend. Memungle. Hey, don't knock it. I've seen it.
Mamo jungle's like kind of halfway a problem. Like, no joke. It's like I've went up against it before, and it just comes in the lane with icicle crash, and it's ridiculous.
Oh, Prati, go ahead and ask your question, friend. Ask your question, because if SoLow's intending to cover it when he gets into supports, then we can discuss it then.
Yep, I'm probably the best person you could ask for a support question.
Support Pikachu over here.
Hey, listen.
I'm not knocking it. I'm jealous. Although right now, Pikachu being one of the most viable counters for Zacian is kind of making me feel some type of way. So, you know. That's true, Ginger. So Ginger says, I understand there's a politeness in not taking jungle, but my rule is if they stay in lane when jungle is up, they're saying it's a free-for-all. I mean...
Okay, I will say that if your jungler is just staying in lane and not going back and claiming their buffs, those are free.
Yeah.
Like, but that does come with like a little bit of a maybe you should wait it out, because if they're just pushing your lane, like if they're literally like pushing your lane, helping you get all these KOs, but they're sticking around, but they're like helping you take wild farm, getting all the KOs on the enemy, and they're leveling up because they're getting those KOs, stay and help them fight.
Yeah.
Because you're getting incredible value out of that. If they're just going to keep
if they're lane farming?
But like if they're literally just staying in your lane just to take your farm, and they're not going back to their jungle to take anything, then that's a free-for-all.
So Prati's question is, hi there, buddy. As a support main, I play solo support. What Pokemon do you recommend me to play as solo so that I can at least do good? So what support mons are best for solo queue in current meta? Also, welcome in, Emilio.
Okay, that's a loaded question. I'm going to tell you, as a support main, and I say this with the best of intentions, you are never going to have a good time in solo queue. It's just not going to happen. you might like most supporters are actually very good in solo queue. It's just you don't really ever have the teammates to follow up with you or to engage for you, or you know what I mean, or they're doing ridiculous stuff and pushing way too deep so you can't heal them. So like it's rough, but my personal favorite for solo queue support is Blissey, because Bliss Assist, it doesn't matter who you get Bliss Assist on. If you like run through the enemies, you're doing 2k damage to each person you run through. So like it's I think Blissey is always a really good choice. Clefable is another really good choice. I wouldn't really
Hoopa?
recommend Comfey. You would think Hoopa would be really good, but people just ignore your portals.
Which is
They just-
unfortunate because they help with mobility and healing.
Yeah, I've had. I can't even get teammates to take my portals. You think I'm going to be able to get randoms to take my portals?
What about Mime? Is Mime viable in solo queue? Just because I think Mime has its own ability to do damage and you know cause disruption.
Mime is actually considered more of a tank than a support. I mean, you can build it as a supporter, as a disruptor supporter, but like Mime, you can do an incredible amount of damage with, but it's just place your portals better. No, Rixel, take the portals. But Mime is always a good choice. Mime's Unite move is another one that's like almost game changing for a team fight. But yeah, as far as if you're going like just straight support, like you're trying to heal your allies and stuff like that, I'd probably say Blissey or Clefable. It's probably your best bet.
And Prady's pretty cracked with Blissey, so it's just about getting. So I think that the problem is you run into teammates like me that have W key energy as squishies, and we don't really know how to take advantage of our healers sometimes. So I think that's one thing that you just kind of have to watch your cues, and you have to kind of play your lane partner's game at that point if you see that they don't really understand Blissey's functionality. I think that's kind of the key. So you're going to want to watch for the signs of a lane partner who understands what it is that you're trying to do, whether you're running Helping Hand or Soft Boiled. So, otherwise you may have to play their game and just kind of run it that way.
Yeah. All right, we have where'd you go? Do we have any more questions in queue?
I don't see any more questions in the queue, but Emilio did ask, how do you take advantage from healing as a squishy?
As a squishy, that's very easy. You try to not get yourself KO'd and keep yourself at range, and hope to hell that your healer comes to you.
Yeah, Clefables. I think for me, my favorite healing usually comes from Clefable. If it's not a Helping Hand Blissey, I prefer a Moonlight Clefable, and that's just if I'm running some of the squishier mages. If I'm running something with a little bit more sustain, I do appreciate a Comfey pocket and can like survive off of Soft Boiled, but that's just my personal preferencing.
But what EJ and Rixel are talking about is also true. Positioning yourself near the support, but also at range, is also incredibly important. So you want to kind of get near the support so that the support understands that you need to be healed, especially if you're not on comms with them. But you also want to make sure that you're still keeping yourself at that range so that you don't get yourself
Hi,
KO'd.
how are you?
Peeling back to your healer versus wanting them to come to use a squishy is something I struggle with sometimes. Same, but I think it becomes situational, right? Like if you're engaged in a situation where you can't get out, like obviously you trying to peel back to your healer isn't going to be an option. So you want them to come to you, but it's situational at that point, right?
Yeah. There are also times where you just need to kind of understand that you're KO'd, and trying to drag the fight over to your healer is just going to get your healer KO'd as well.
And it's going to feed XP to the other team too. Cool. Well, if anybody else has questions, please, you can use !question, or as we found out, !join to join the queue for Q&A. But I think we can move on from mages.
All right. Next we have, oh, well, yep, there's our healers. All right.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! All right. But these are the Pokemon, obviously, that can heal you. They have some form of, replenishing your health. Uh, and yeah, these we just kind of covered everything. As a healer, you always want to be making sure that you're keeping your teammates alive. Um, like identifying your carries and making sure they're not getting KO'd, and yeah, positioning yourself in the best way possible to support your team and make sure that you're keeping them alive. So this is the pretty easy, straightforward one.
Prodigy did ask a really good question, and I think that this is a big one. And we talked about this, I think, last time too when we were going over held items. Experience share and healers. Is it a must, or does it benefit, or when does it benefit and when does it not?
Okay, so I'm going to say as a healer, you should definitely be running EXP share, because healers are very bad at farming. They do not they cannot burst down Pokemon very well, and they take forever to farm, especially in the late game. So you want to make sure that you're constantly getting that experience, and you also want to make sure that the laner that you are with, that you're constantly feeding them XP, because you want to make sure that you have the strongest carry possible to support. So running EXP share on healers, I would definitely say yes. You always want to run an EXP share on a healer. Now,
Is there
if you
ever
talk,
a time that you don't?
is there a time that you don't? Um, I don't. In solo queue, it's a little, because there are certain times that you can not trust your teammates to be ahead of you. So, like, because EXP share, you're getting the benefit from it, like the leveling benefit from it when you're the lowest level on the team. But the XP, like the XP split, where normally it's 70-30, with EXP share you do like the 130 EXP share EXP split. You're always getting that benefit, so it's always a beneficial item to have because you're helping the rest of the people on your team. But if you're not the lowest leveled person on your team, like if somebody else on your team is just really bad at farming and you're ahead of them, you're also kind of getting screwed in the process. So, it's a give and take. Am I saying that you can't run a healer without EXP share? No, you definitely can. You just got to be conscious about, farming. But it is incredibly beneficial to your team overall to run EXP share on it.
Got it. And then Emilio asked, is experience share worth getting to level 30? Like, I know that there's been some talk about like leveling up your held items above 20, like not really being super effective, but
So,
like when is level 30 the most effective?
so there are a couple items that make sense at level 30. EXP share is not really one of them. If you get your EXP share to level 20, that's fine. Past that, you don't really get too many benefits. It's the items that give percentage benefits that are worth getting to level 30. So scope lens gives like a percentage to crit chance. So that's worth getting to level 30 because, the higher your crit chance percentage is, that's going to increase exponentially. But, if it's just giving a flat stat, honestly, the flat stats from 20 to 30 are minuscule at best.
Okay. Mac is asking, for healers, would it be ideal to stack?
Honestly, yes. A lot of healers do benefit from stacking special attack specs. Certain ones like Blissey also benefit from stacking Aeos Cookie, but it's not like my first choice of an item on a Blissey or a Clefable, but you can do it. But most of them, yes, they actually do benefit a lot from special attack specs, because your healing is based off of your special attack, and the higher that is, basically the higher your heals are.
So Emilio, we did actually. So our first episode that we did a couple weeks ago, we went into like a lot of the held items, and we talked about like the benefit and how they're used, and we specifically touched on the topic of experience share. So, I think my VOD is still up. If you have a chance to go back and kind of check that out, because I know that there's a lot of like misunderstanding of how experience share is used. And then SoLow also puts in-depth videos up on his YouTube about these topics. But SoLow, if you have time, if you wanna just go over the experience share again, just so people are kind of understand it, because I think if we're gonna talk about healers in their role and understanding how they can use that role to their benefit, like maybe a better understanding of experience share. So can we touch on that real quick before we move on?
Yep. I can do. Honestly, I've had to explain this to so many people. I've got like a Cliff Notes version of it at this point. So the way that experience share works, the first effect that you get is that if you're the lowest level person on your team, then you get more experience per tick. You get more passive experience build up. Where normally you get about like 1 experience every time. I forget what the time increment is. I will just say it's a second. With EXP share, if you have it leveled up to the to level 20, you get 5 experience, I believe. You get 5 experience per tick instead. So you're basically building up. What you got? You're building. Oh, yep. And there's the VOD for it. But what you got? You're building up experience. Now, the more important version, or the more important benefit of experience share, is that when you are taking a wild Pokemon with your lane partner, let's say you're walking down the lane and you're taking those beginning Bunnelbees. When you're taking those and you're splitting them and you're attacking them together, the way that the game normally splits it is that the person that gets the last hit on it gets 70% of the experience that Bunnelby was going to give. And then the person that helped take it down gets 30%, equaling up to 100%. Now with experience share, the Mon without the experience share gets 100% of the experience from that Bunnelby, and the person with the experience share gets 30% of the experience. So you're making experience out of thin air. Mm-hmm. You're getting an extra 30% of experience out of just pure thin air. And it doesn't matter who last hits it. And I need to stress that so much, because so many people have this misconception about experience share that like it only benefits if the person without the experience share gets the last hit. No, if the person with the experience share gets the last hit, it will still give 100% of that experience to the person without the experience share. So you basically, it is giving you a free 30% on your experience share Mon every piece of farm that you take out.
We love this. Math.
Yeah, math.
All right. I don't see any more questions in the queue, so we are free to move on. I would like to, maybe after this next section, if we could just take like a quick break before we move on to the second topic.
Yep. All right. So this is my personal favorite. All right. This is the subclass of harassers.
I hate every single one of them.
These are the Pokemon that are like always all over the map. They're in your face. They're always taking your farm. They're always invading jungle. They're always making you feel uncomfortable. They're making you like second guess what you're doing on the map. They are basically they are there to annoy the crap out of you the entire match. And this is like, and to be honest, this is a very useful role in the fact that it basically plays mind games with your enemy. Like it like playing against these Mons, especially with somebody that's very good with them, is very demoralizing because they're just all over the map and in your face. So a lot of these will fill. So a lot of these Mons will either like substitute the mage role, or they'll substitute the all-arounder role. Something of that nature. Because I've seen people play Dodrio instead of an all-arounder. Mm-hmm. Or they'll play Greedent instead of an all-arounder. And or if you have like really strong laners, you'll jungle Talonflame and just be all over the map. So it's, and then obviously everyone knows what Sableye does,
right?
So
well, and a lot of these Mons, without being speedsters, with the exception of Talonflame and Dodrio, they have massive mobility built into their kit already.
Insane mobility built into their kit. Like with Cramorant, Dive, Air Slash, you're like going over walls. You're you're cutting corners on everything. You can get away from like the most insane bursts of damage because like people can't get over walls as far as you can. But and obviously Greedent has Covet, and with it basically saying that it can't be stopped unless you slow bro ult it. It's
annoying. It's
it's a lot.
definitely annoying.
Basically, you're annoying. Your whole role is to be annoying.
We call this
And
lineup here nightmare fuel.
Nightmare fuel, the nightmare fuel role.
And the funny thing is, a lot of these, if not all of them, do an insane amount of damage to where they kind of classify as both the speedster and an all-rounder based on, their ability to move around the map, A, and B, just I can't tell you how many times I've been sat on by a Talonflame and just burst into Aeos energy. It's annoying.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember from season 1 and season 2, everyone used to make the joke that Crustle was the original speedster.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
he just was so
They used to throw floatstone on him.
Yeah. Also, Ginger, that is incredibly important. If you are playing against a harasser and you don't know what to do or how to do it, do not chase it.
Mm-hmm.
Do not chase it around. You're not going to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
And because honestly, most of the time they're annoying the crap out of you because they want you to chase it. They want you to chase them around because now they're distracting you, and now the rest of their team can go and grab objectives, grab farm, take your jungle, whatever they want to do, because you are hyper focused on taking down, this Greedent that just ran through your jungle and you can't catch anyways. So,
and it's very easy to get emotionally triggered by these guys too, to the point where you just become laser focused on getting them back because either they did take your jungle or they took your farm, or Sableye keeps popping up and scoring in your face and he's just getting all of his stacks in. Like it does become annoying, and it's like we're trying to play the game and you're trying to focus, and these guys, their objective realistically is to get you off path. That is their whole goal, is to get you off path and to separate the team and to send you scrambling and move your focus.
I cannot tell you how many times as a Sableye or as a Crustle, I have just led people back because I knew they were chasing me. I led them to the Espeon that was standing right there. And now because they're chasing me and they're off pad, the Espeon just one bursts them with Psyshock Psybeam. It's a bait. It's a bait every single time. Don't do it. Don't chase.
Do not chase these.
But all right. Next are our brawlers. These are the people that are going to jump in the middle of a fight and do a whole bunch of damage. So you're going to also see certain mons are also going to be classified in other roles as well, because I know I'm already going to have Rix in here. He's going to tell me, oh, these are divers, blah, 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 blah. They're the dive the backline. Yes, I have them also in the other one. But these mons can get in the middle of a fight and do a whole bunch of damage. These are the ones that are, you have your Outrage Dragonite, your Buzzwole, like the people that are getting in and they're just picking people up and slamming them down, moving them around in the middle of a fight, putting them out of position, things like that. So, and I know somebody's going to bring up Flail Snorlax. I know somebody's going to bring up Flail Snorlax.
Oh yeah, Panda's already in chat freaking out right now because that's his boy, Flaylax.
All right. Flaylax, I know it's a defender, but you play it like an all-arounder. Mm-hmm. That's you play Flail Snorlax like an all-arounder. Now, I'm going to say in the current meta that we are in, playing these mons is rough. There is a lot of crowd control. There are a lot of stuns, a lot of pop-ups, a lot of everything. Jumping into the middle of a fight and trying to just brawl it out is rough right now. So, you're going to see a couple of these mons like Serena that are currently struggling. But their role doesn't change. They're supposed to be these brawlers, these people that get into the fight and do damage. All right. And now we have our divers and flankers.
There we go.
These are these are the Pokemon that are going to run around the team fight and get to the squishies. These are the ones that are going to hide in a bush, and they're going to pop out of a bush, burst you with 2 moves, and then be gone before you even know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have the easiest way to put it is the Rayquaza pit. Now, most of the time, the fight at Rayquaza is underneath, at the bottom part of the pit. A lot of the time, you're going to see these Mons. They're going to run around the top of the pit. They're going to get behind everyone, and they're going to take out your Delphox. They're going to take out your Espeon. They're going to take out your Cinderace, and they're going to do it. And then all of a sudden, the team fight, you're going to start losing the team fight, and you're going to be like, oh, my carry's down.
Yep.
So that's what these Mons are for.
It's one of these guys.
Yeah, that's what these Mons have. These are built for that. And I know that's Scissor in there, but you're supposed to be. It says the dual wing beat build.
Should be Scyther, right?
It's Scyther, but they don't have a graphic for Scyther because why would they?
Why would they?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. If you are ever playing Decidueye and you see one of these Mons on the opposite team, just understand you are going to die a lot.
Yeah, just run. Just run. I can't tell you how many times I've been surprise attacked by an Absol in a bush, and I tell you what, I fucking hate it.
These, or there are also Mons like Rapid Spin Blastoise. They go into the Rapid Spin and they activate their hindrance resistance, so they can't be CC'd. The only thing that can pick them up is Buzzwole, which is a weird interaction. But, so they can literally just blast through the front line. And they can get to the squishies without even anyone being able to stop them. So there are different ways to get to the back line, but these are usually the Mons that are going to do it. So if you see these Mons in a team fight, like if they are on your team, understand what they are going to be trying to do. Oh, all right. Let's see. All right, these are Disruptors. These are the Pokemon that are made to stop the enemy divers, stop the enemy flankers. These are people that are supposed to get in the way and CC the enemy team, stun them for their entire health bar, and then while your attackers burst them down. So, you have your heavy slam block Snorlax, you have your Trevenant, Wigglytuff putting people to sleep, things of that nature. So these are, when you say the term tank, these are usually what people associate it with in Pokemon Unite, because that's what they expect a tank to do, is to, cast CC and be disruptive.
And that's exactly what these guys do. I can't tell you, as a squishy, every single one of these Mons on this screen give me nightmares from just CC alone. It is absolutely annoying if you have limited mobility as it is to go up against any of these, especially right now, Tree and Slowbro.
If you see if you're playing like Pikachu or you're playing Espeon and you see a tree bearing down on you, just understand you're probably done. You are probably KO'd. If you get caught in Woodhammer, your chances of surviving that are very little.
Yeah, very, very little. It's usually a 2-shot. And that's if he gets the second if he gets a second hammer on you before his Espeon comes from the back line with Psyshock.
Is it Terran? T-Terran? Tarion?
T-Tarion?
T-Tarion.
Yeah, maybe?
Tarion? Buzzwole does fit that role as well. But I think Buzzwole kind of fits the brawler role a little better. But yes, his superpower and Smackdown do CC people, knock them out of the way, things like that. Put people where they don't want to be. All right. Now we move on to the sustain monsters.
Oh boy.
These are the Pokemon that are incredibly hard to KO.
Especially with a Comfey attached to him.
Yes, especially with the addition of Comfey. These Mons are a menace. I don't know if you've ever run into a fully ramped Garchomp with Comfey attached to it. It ain't it. it ain't it. But yeah,
Facts.
these are your Gigapedal Venus, your what is it? Woodhammer Hornleech, or Curse Hornleech trees, Gudra just as a Pokemon, Slowbro with Amnesia. They're just constantly recovering health, and you're just like sitting there just attacking and attacking and attacking. You're like, why won't this thing go down?
Yeah.
These
Tree right now on its own is pretty difficult to take down, but when you put a Comfey on a tree, it's really difficult.
It's impossible.
You'll spend
Now,
7 minutes of the game trying to take that thing down.
Now, a lot of people wonder, like, what is the purpose of these mons? Like, what is, like, other than, your obvious attackers like Tyranitar and Garchomp, your tanks that you have, Gudra, Trevenant, and Slowbro. Like, what's the point of being that tanky if you're just the last mon left alive? Like, you're not going to 1v5. But the whole point of a sustain tank is to buy time. You're waiting for the rest of your team to get there, so that you can, turn the team fight. I can't count the amount of times that, like, we've sieged a goal, and then all of a sudden, like, we're trying to 1v3 a Trevenant, and this Trevenant's like buying so much time for its team to come back, and then they all come back together and they just wipe us.
Exactly.
So, they definitely have their usefulness, and if they're paired with a healer, they're a nightmare to deal with. All right, I think our last one are outliers. Okay, so these are the two mons that we didn't talk about, and they're for two very different reasons. Charizard doesn't really fit any of these roles. It's not a brawler. It's not going to get up in your face. It's not it's not a mage, but it can cast at range. It's just kind of like, it does like a little bit of everything. It's not really set into one role. So you have it. I'm not saying that it's a bad Pokemon. Like Char, is struggling a little bit right now, but it's not a bad Pokemon to play. It just doesn't really fit into that role. What Char, a lot of people say Char is a Unite machine, because you cast its Unite move, and if you can actually get it off without having it canceled, it completely turns a team fight.
Right.
So, that's it's kind of in a group all its own. And then you have Hoopa, who does something that no other character does. So, you can teleport around the map. You can send people into different lanes. When you cast your Unite move, you bring everyone to one spot. Like, you can do so much with this Pokemon, but it doesn't fit a role. So, it's just, it is its own thing. Yes, it's a supporter. Yes, you can send people back to heal at base and things like that. So it can kind of be classified as a healer. But, other than that, like, it's kind of just made to be, that whole utility Swiss Army knife, kind of, you're moving people around the map. So.
Yeah, and to Titarian's point, I think Zard's ult used to be, I think, more useful than it is now, just because we have so many mons that are invincible against it. Like, they're capable of basically interrupting that ult.
Here's the problem. Is that Char used to be a Unite machine, and it used to be really great, but now you have so many mons that have Unstoppable, they have Hindrance Resistant, they have, all of the EVs, except for Sylveon. So, you have Glaceon, Glaceon and Espeon. Their ability, Magical Bounce and Snow Cloak, if they have that ability up, it cancels Char's ult. So, and then you have things that, like, you try to pick up like a Cramorant while it's ulting, you can't do that. You try to pick up a Decidueye while it's ulting, you can't do that. You try to pick up an Urshifu while it's charging up Wicked Blow, you can't do that. Like, it's, that's why Char's in like a really rough place. And then they took away its true damage on top of it. And then now it's just in a really rough spot.
Yeah. Poor guy.
So, but I do have one more slide.
One more roll.
And it addresses one Pokemon that we did not talk about, and
Bruno.
I believe it was really important. It was really important to have this slide, and that's the group of if you play this Pokemon, you're a bad person.
Period.
This is a very important group to understand. If you play Zacian, you should probably just delete Unite for a while. But no, seriously, Zacian, I really like. In all seriousness, I don't know where to put Zacian as a thing, like because like I can do everything isn't a sub role.
Yeah.
Like I believe like it's supposed to be a brawler. Like I think it's supposed to be a brawler, but it just, you know, like it can chase down people, it can, you know, ambush people, it can get in the middle of a fight in 1v5. Like it's insane. So until it gets nerfs, I don't really feel comfortable putting it in a role until it, like, you can really see what it's supposed to be. So, but yeah, that is, I'm gonna leave this up for right now.
All right. Well, we are gonna take
is the end of my sub rolls. So
we're gonna take a quick break, you guys, and we will come back with part 2 of episode 2. So stay tuned.
What was video?
Breathe.
And the fact that y'all are just hard-footing just where you're at.
Me and Star have this Jim and Dwight thing going on. Crunch, just breathe.
I can't. I'm legitimately crying. Because here's the thing. It's not just enough that Star is upset right now. It's the fact that Panda's feeding off of it.
You're gonna do great, buddy. Star, hold my hand, man.
You stay away from me.
You're welcome.
We're rolling with it. Just no take backs.
There we go.
Crunchy's had in the chat, by the way.
There you go. Move close to you. There you go.
What? Kelly? Colin, you're gonna have to keep up with this. What is going on? Oh! Kelly! Oh God! Thank you for the raid! Oh my God! Oh my God! Colin, can we give a shout out to Kelly, please? Oh my God! Look at this, I'm fucking shaking! Oh. Listen, I already cried on stream once, not today, but I've done it once. Holy crap, thank you. Welcome, Raiders. Thank you guys so much. Kelly! Oh. Let's go. Let's dance, friend. Let's dance. You don't want this? You don't want this smoke? You don't want this Pikachu? Oh.
Look at this dude. No.
Where you at, friend? I don't want that. I don't want that. Oh, you coming? You coming? You coming? Let's go. I need help. I need an adult.
No. I'm sorry.
So yeah, once I'm fully evolved as
Your ass
game,
hit me!
What?
I'm using Snorlax and I bumped him with my butt.
Oh, Kimmy.
You have the privilege of being able to go through my house. I think you said that wrong.
Oh.
It's the wrong tone.
It's the wrong tone.
Yep,
What? They're in your house!
There's a headphone warning again.
They're in your house! They're
Who's
in
in
your
my
house!
Who's in
The
my
fucking
house?
pillagers!
They're in my house?
They
They
were.
were in your house, yes.
Oh, sick. I told you. How the hell did they get in my house?
Well, it's proof Panda's not going crazy.
Yeah, see?
Oh my god, thank you so much, Ghost Floof. That means a lot. Thank you. Had nothing to do with you. Go away.
Oh.
This is my moment.
Yeah. Panda.
It's PokeSir!
Oh my god. They're all here.
It's more like this. Are you hot for teacher? I did 69k damage.
GG's.
Nice.
GG's.
Congrats, that was your master game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yay, congratulations! Hooray!
Master or a moment. All right, just to remind everybody what group Zacian falls under, just in case you forgot.
Pokemon you play if you're a bad person.
Yes, Pixeltor, I do play Minecraft. As a matter of fact, we are going to be playing Minecraft this coming weekend. We have a modded server now. All right.
All right, part 2.
We are ready. Part 2. Let's get into it.
So now we are going to talk about something that I anticipate a lot of people are going to have questions about, and that is team synergy. Synergy basically meaning you need to pick things that work together in a team, because if you're playing things that need skill shots and you're playing a Pokemon that pushes everything around, you are going to make life incredibly difficult for yourself. So, all right. So I think the biggest thing when it comes to team synergy, the way that I normally go about it, especially when I'm playing solo queue, is basically, like just kind of glaze over what your team picked, kind of identify what your carry is going to be, and try and figure out like what your carry will need. So if you're playing, if they pick a Gardevoir jungle, let's just say, hypothetically they pick Gardevoir jungle. Gardevoir is very powerful, very strong, but it lacks mobility. So you need a tank that can, get in between that. So you want something that's a disruptor. You want you want your tree, you want your block Snorlaxes, things like that. You want something that's going to get in the way so that Gardevoir can continue to do damage. Now, on the flip side of that, if you have something that's like an ADC, like an attack damage carry, and something that's more mobile, like we'll just go back with Cinderace or Greninja. They're both very mobile, very self-sufficient Pokemon. So your all-arounder that you have, or your all-arounder you don't really need a brawler, because Cinderace is going to be doing most of the damage and your tanks are going to be getting in the way. So you don't really need a brawler. So that's when you can feel safe picking a harasser, or things like that. So like you have to know how to mix and match your mons to get the best result. Now, I'm not saying every match is going to go your way, because we understand how solo, duo, trio queue goes. But to give yourself the best chance of winning, when you see these screenshots of people picking like 5 attackers, and you're like, well, what are you doing? Like you have no front line. Right. You have nothing that's going to get in the way. You're just going to get dove on by everything and anything. So it's really more of like a, let's try this and figure it out, or like what pairs together with what. So so I think the biggest thing is understanding, first off, what your carries are. So your carries are always going to be, your ADCs, your mages, and sometimes they are your divers and your flankers. If you have a speedster, you have a Gengar, you have a Scyther, sometimes those are going to be your carries. But you have to understand how to play around those carries. So like if you're, like I said, with a mage, you want a disruptor. With a ADC, you want something that's going to, keep them alive or help them be mobile. For a diver and a flanker, you want something that's going to keep the having a diver and a flanker, like that's a carry. It's really good to have a brawler or a sustain tank to keep their front line occupied while your flanker goes into the back line and KOs the damage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's these, mix and match, try a little bit of this, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, you know what I mean? Like, so you're kind of looking for that perfect synergy with your team the best that you can. Oh, so let's see. So, like we'll build a hypothetical team real quick.
Okay.
So let's see let's say your jungler picks Delphox. What do we know about Delphox? Delphox is very mobile. Well, it depends on what build you pick. If you pick Mystical Fire, Flame Charge, or Fire Blast, Flame Charge, you're very mobile. So they can get out of a lot of situations. They can kite very well. If you don't know what kiting means, it means like they can basically keep enemies at the very edge of their range and, continue to back up and do that and engage and disengage and kind of just skate all around the map. That's what Delphox is known for. So what would benefit a Delphox? Benefiting a Delphox would be having a brawler, someone that jumps in the middle of the fight, someone that can basically let that Delphox skate around the fight and continue to do damage. It would also benefit from something like a sustain tank.
Okay.
Or if they're playing the not so mobile moves, so, if they're playing Fire Spin, then having something like a disruptor would make a lot more sense. So not only is it important to understand what mons that your allies are picking, it's also really important to understand what moves they're picking as well. So when you see, like, in this one, you have Blastoise that can be Rapid Spin Water Spout and be a diver and a flanker, or you can have Surf Hydro Pump. So if you're playing with a Delphox and you realize, like, oh, they went Fire Spin, they're going to be really easy to dive on, maybe consider going Surf Hydro Pump instead. Not all moves are are a tell for that. I mean, if you actually pause during a match, like if you bring up the where you see the KOs and assists and everything, you can see what moves your allies picked.
Yeah, the plus button shows you what moves that they're running before you even have a chance to run into them, right?
Yeah, so you can always see like what your I believe you can see what your enemies picked as well. So
yep.
Gujar's a bit of a disruptor with Power Whip. Yeah, Power Whip is a disruptive move, but it's more or less a chase down tool. So you're trying to like not let people get away. So it's disruptive, but it's more or less to keep them in the fight rather than keeping them away from your carries. Oh. So now, before I move on from that, do you have any questions, Crunches? Because I know you were very much about this the team synergy.
Yeah, so let's say somebody like me who, obviously my first choice is always going to be an attacker, and I run a lot of ranged attackers, right? So I don't do a whole lot of W key shenanigans unless I'm running, Volt Tackle Pikachu, or if I'm running Giga Pedal Dance Venusaur. So For situations like those, if I'm laning, obviously, I'm not in the jungle. Do I want an all-rounder? Do I want a defender? Or do I want a supporter? Like, how do I know who my optimal lane partner is going to be based on my choice of mon?
So you want to build out your lanes like the normal. I'm gonna say from a competitive standpoint, the normal lane distribution is usually they send the all-arounder or the top laner, whatever they chose, Dodrio or whatever. They send they send them to the top lane, and they send them with a support. So that's usually their healer or, their hoopa or anything like that. They usually goes, the all-arounder and the support go in one lane.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your attacker, who is usually your mage, and your defender in the bot lane.
Okay.
So normally as a mage, you want to have someone that can peel for you because you're very immobile. So having a Pikachu with a Trevenant in lane, that lets the Pikachu be able to get more last hits because the Trevenant can keep people away from you.
Okay.
So knowing how to build out your lanes, and then you have like very specific synergized lanes, like we always talk about freeze lane.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze lane is having Mamo and Alolan Ninetales in one lane, because you're just constantly freezing people. Most of their moves do more damage if the enemy's frozen, things like that. So it's knowing how to build out your lanes. Like if you put 2 attackers in a lane, like if you like say your team forgoes like having a support and you pick an additional attacker. If you take that attacker and put it in a lane with another attacker, like, yeah, you're going to take a lot of things right out of the gate, but the second that they're able to dive on top of you, you're not going to be able to win.
Right.
Like,
right.
And if the jungler ganks that lane, you're in a whole mess of trouble.
So if we're talking about, let's say, a mage with limited mobility, do you prefer a disruptor? Because wouldn't that not only provide some additional CC, but it would also create the ability for you to get out of a situation?
Right. Yes. So disruptors are very good for mages. But there are also certain Pokemon that their beginning moves would be considered a disruptor. So like I'll take Goodra, for example. Goodra's a really good one to talk about as a tank. So it's a sustained tank. Like it's meant to just live forever. But in the beginning, when it's Goomy, it has tackle, with which when you bump into somebody, it pops them up a little bit and it stuns them. So that is considered being a disruptor. So it goes from being a disruptor to being a sustained monster. So like it's basically, like I said, there are certain mons that as they evolve, their role kind of changes, and you need to kind of account for that as well. So laning Pikachu and Goodra together, it's not a bad play, because as Goomy and as Sliggoo, like you're still a disruptor. But the second that you become Goodra, then you become a sustained monster, and now everybody's hopefully hit their power spikes, and Pikachu's a little more self-sufficient. So it's kind of it's not only knowing your mon and knowing your lane partner, but knowing what your lane partner is capable of and what they're eventually going to be versus what they are at the beginning of the match.
So I think AJ brought up a good point too, and this is something that I often look for in my lane partners if you're going to be running a disruptor. I know we talked about the benefit of experience share on your healers, but what about your defenders? Like, is it beneficial for your defenders to be running experience share if they're in lane with you? And when is it not beneficial for defenders to be running experience share?
Now, this one's kind of a give and take, as far as like if you are playing strictly solo queue, like strictly like just by yourself, I would not recommend experience share on your defender. Like you can do it and it is still going to be beneficial, but in solo queue you kind of have to carry a little more than I would like to admit. But if you're playing duo queue, like say you're playing with your friend that is going to lane with you, then it makes sense to play experience share because you're in communication with someone that you can feed experience to. So putting experience share on your defenders in any type of coordinated setting, 100% do it. But when you're uncoordinated and you're playing strictly solo queue, it can benefit, but it can also become a liability.
Okay.
Like, so you're having this experience share on a defender that's supposed to be like really bulky, and your attacker that you're supposed to be helping isn't really helping you. Well, now you have a useless item that you're kind of like, you know what I mean? Like an item that's not really benefiting your team the way that it should be.
Yeah. See, and I love that we're getting in depth here, because one of the things that, again, the tutorial in game doesn't teach you is how to separate your decision making based on whether you're solo, duo, trio, or 5 stacking, because the comp changes, your approach changes, your play style changes depending on how much of a coordinated effort you're getting out of this, and whose game style you're going to be adapting to. So I think this is very useful information.
If you were to believe the game, it would have you believe that playing solo, duo, trio, and 5 stack is all the same experience, and it's not. It's not even close. And
Facts.
because I will say playing solo, duo, trio, there are a lot of similarities and a lot of crossover. Because you're still having to deal with randoms. There's a little bit of like a unknown element to the match. But when you play in 5 stacks, playing solo, duo, trio, and playing 5 stacks, it's a completely different game. Like you have to understand that, like, the second that you are in a 5 stack, your macro decision making is everything. Like, it is everything. Like, you can be the best, you could be the best micro player, you could be the best Cinderace in the world, but if your macro decision making is terrible, you're never going to survive in 5s. So, but there are a lot of things that you can get away with in solo, duo, trio that you would never be able to get away with in 5s. So,
and I think macros is and micro plays is something that we're going to go over in a future session, correct?
Yes, that was actually, I was going to talk to you about doing that as the next session, which was macros.
I would love that.
Macros
Mikey,
micros.
Mikey does have a question. He asked, is it true that Hoopa is the only one without 20% to farm from support/defender?
All right. So I'm going to give the piece of information first. And Mikey, yes, you are correct. That is because when Hoopa turns unbound, it is actually classified as an attacker. If you go into the Pokemon, like the if you go into the menu where it shows you all of the Pokemon and you switch Hoopa's form into its unbound form, it will literally change its type from a supporter to an attacker. It'll say that it turns into an attacker. Now, what Mikey is talking about, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, is that supports, and I got to make sure that I say this the correct way. Supports from level 1 to level 9, they get a 10% boost on not all of their damage, but their first move, which is like the move closest to the bottom of the screen. If you're playing on Switch, it is your R button, not ZR, it's R. For that move and for your basic attacks, you get a 10% boost to hitting farm and objectives. So, and then when you get from level 9 to level 15, you get a 20% boost to that damage. So there was a time where you were seeing a lot of Blissey Egg Bomb steals. For back when Zapdos was on the map, you were seeing a lot of Blissey Egg Bomb steals. That's why. Because all supports and tanks, so all supports and defenders get that boost.
Okay, that makes sense. Everybody in the chat going, yeah, Unagi.
Yeah. It's insane because when the problem really becomes when you get an overpowered tank. Like I don't know if everybody remembers Blastoise meta, but when Blastoise was super overpowered, you had this tank that was playing like an all-arounder that was also getting a boost to last hitting objectives. So it becomes a problem on top of a problem.
Right. And he's annoying already as it is. So it's nice to see Blastoise making a comeback though in this current meta.
When they nerfed him, they kind of gutted him a little bit, and he was a little he was rough. He was rough for a while.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I was
gonna say I don't know if everyone remembers when Blastoise used to use its Unite move, and used to like chunk Zapdos from like a quarter health. So
I love that we have these moments though, SoLow, like, and it happened in the last session too, but there's like one moment where we touch on something and everybody in chat goes, oh, like it's not it like I think there's enough, we get some information from just, playing the game. We get some information from watching other gamers play the game. We get some information from, YouTube videos. And then there's things that you've learned from prior MOBAs. If you played MOBAs before this, I personally did not. I think I played League of Legends like twice before I played Pokemon Unite. But, there's things that I think we just kind of accept without really knowing like why or how they work. And so getting into these moments and then understanding like the actual fundamentals of these mechanics and how they apply to gameplay is so good. Like just having these, I think honestly, when you have those moments and you have enough of them, the gameplay starts to change for you. Like I know even when we were doing training with, the Pebbles, there were moments even learning how to like last hit and secure farm, or, calling out your objectives and your rotations and like why you do certain things that made my gameplay, whether I'm solo queuing or 5-stacking, made my gameplay better. So watching chat have that same reaction to that. And then when we talked about the experience share in the last session, good.
This is why I always urge people, and like obviously I offer coaching, but like I urge people to get coaching from a more experienced player that has delved into all of this stuff and like is like I'm friends with people on the math cord. Like I learn all of like the damage equations and stuff like that, how like all the hidden mechanics and all of that fun stuff. But so, and it's these things that like I internalize that like I don't fully comprehend that other people don't know until I talk to them. And then like when I give coaching sessions and stuff like that, I'll be like, oh yeah, this works because of this, and they'll be like, what? I'm like, yeah, like this is these two moves kind of like synergize together, and then you can do this and this, like with Hoopa and Phantom Force. Like you can put down a portal, Phantom Force into the middle of the portal, go back to base, and then Phantom Force back, and you pop right back up in the lane. Like it's a whole combo that like a lot of people are just kind of like, how do you get back so fast? And I'm like, it's like you just do this, and they're just things that people don't think of. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's it's second nature to me. But to somebody that is not as experienced with the game, like that's like it's like just like discovering fire. Like,
Yep. I like Ginger's point in the chat. I'd also be interested to know which passives are a must know when facing an enemy like Cute Charm, Magic Bounce, or Long Reach. I feel like we could do an entire session on passives.
I'm going to tell you, if you are playing a Pokemon, know its passive. Know what your Pokemon is capable of, because there are very, very few, because there's a few that are like obvious, that are like, oh, this is what it does. But then there's like an underlying like, hey, there's also this, like, because I'm trying to think of one like right off the rip, like I think Buzzwole's meter, like his muscle gauge has certain effects to it as well, like when it's full, because his muscle gauge, you fill it up, and then you have certain moves that are powered up when you use it. but there are also moves that reset your muscle gauge. So like, you know what I mean? Like for his superpower, for superpower, when you get superpower plus, when you can use superpower, fill the muscle gauge, and then when you fill the muscle gauge, superpower immediately resets. So you can use superpower to smackdown, which will fill your muscle gauge back up to superpower again.
Nice.
And you can basically like one shot any squishy. Like it's knowing how your Mon's passive works is huge. So like, and the thing is, as more Mons have come out, the passives have gotten more complicated.
Yeah.
So it's
we could put this on the topic, the session topic list, because I would like to know more. And I know Mikey, best tip is to read the Mons kit. I'll tell you right now, and this is the whole reason SoLow and I are doing this. I'm not a book learner. So you can send me to Unite DB and have me read everything that's in there and look at what MathCord has dissected. It makes this much sense to me. But if we're sitting here talking about it and I have somebody like SoLow who's explaining it to me from a practical application standpoint without using the DB jargon, I digest it differently. So there's a lot of people who can go into DB and read that and it clicks for them. Like for me, I like that doesn't work like that for me. So I like that we're having this conversation about all of these different facets and aspects of Mons and their passives, because like even for somebody like me who's played the game for over a year, I clearly still have very fundamental noob questions. So this for me is a lot easier to digest.
All right, let's show how much people actually read the passives. I'm curious. Out of everyone in the chat, anyone can answer this. Do not look it up, because I know some of you have Unite pulled up right now. Do not look it up. What's Trevenant's passive? I know a lot of you play Tree. What's Trevenant's passive?
Tree stuff.
Ginger's close.
Titarian said natural cure.
No, natural cure is Blissey.
Oh.
Yeah. Blissey's passive is once every like 6 seconds. It actually just like cleanses itself of CC. Is it actually called Natural Cure? But I could tell you, the thing is like, I don't know the names, but I could literally tell you what each Pokemon's passive does.
Oh, they say it's Trevenant's too, so they share Natural Cure?
No, okay, so Trevenant's passive, when you first spawn, there's a little green bar on your health bar, like right at the halfway point.
Mm-hmm.
So when your health drops below that bar, it procs your passive. The green bar goes away and you start naturally healing.
That's stupid.
So, so basically you're regaining health. But the thing is that passive goes on a very long cooldown. So you have to wait for that green bar to come back up. But yeah, you once that bar is gone for a set amount of time, Trevenant like just starts passively healing XP or HP.
Jesus
so it's
Christ.
like it's literally like a built-in focus band.
Not really, when most of the moves cause damage to oneself. Oh, that's true. But see, there again, like I'm not a Tree gamer, so I don't know these things. So understanding the passive and like how it balances in connection with the Mons kit, I think is also very important too.
What you call it? Tree used to do like an insane amount of damage to itself to use its moves. I personally believe that the buffs that they gave it make the damage that you take from the moves, because they've reduced it. They've reduced the amount of damage that you take from using your moves. I believe that it basically makes it minuscule at this point because you recover so much. Like because now Pain Split's like not a troll move anymore. So, if you are below your opponent in health, like the one that you connect to, you basically just start recovering HP anyways. Like you're literally draining their HP. So it's like Tree used to be really bad. Like Curse used to do a decent chunk to use. Woodhammer used to be a decent chunk to use, but its passive can really save you, especially in the early game when you're playing Phantom. Like Phantom is not bulky.
Yeah.
So, when it procs your passive as you're trying to run away, like you can get out of some situations that you normally wouldn't be able to get out of. But it's like, but understanding a Pokemon's passive like that, like it can really change your gameplay, because then you start to play around, especially if it's like a very detailed passive, like you need certain conditions to be met for it to proc. Like it helps you play around that. Like what is it? Snowcloak for Glaceon. It lets you it's basically a get out of jail free card. If they try to hinder you, they try to stun you, they try to cast CC on you in any way, you get one get out of jail free card. You turn invisible for like a second, and you don't take the effects of that stun.
See, I didn't even know that, and I play Glaceon.
Yep.
So, so let's put a pin in this one because I have a lot of questions where passives are concerned, and I feel like we could do a whole 2 hours on passives, how they proc,
Right.
how they affect cooldowns and resets. Like there's so much information to just the basic format of gameplay in this game, and they give you a 5-minute tutorial.
Yep, literally. And like
So-
the whole thing is like that's like what prompted me to make Beginner to Masters in the first place. Is like I felt like the tutorial is so bare bones. And then like the stuff that they tell you, even like if you go to the battle, what is it? There's like the battle guide that you can like look up on, what the buffs do and what Rayquaza does and things like that. Like it tells you like what things do around the map. Like it doesn't even give you the full explanation. Like for Rayquaza, it's like it gives you a shield that lets you score faster. It doesn't tell you about the 60% damage increase you get off of it.
Yeah.
Like so like that's going to be like part of the macro lesson that I teach people is like we're going to talk about everything on the map first, and then how to play around it and what's more beneficial, where you should be, things like that. So yeah, it is. Gara is correct. It's only it's like the damage buff that you get for being a supporter or a tank. It's only on move 1, so your R move and your basic attacks. That's it. It does not, for whatever reason, move 2 and your Unite move do not get a boost. But
that's fair.
It's like that. Like I said, that's why I do that. That's definitely why I wanted to do this series and Beginner to Masters, because it's like they don't they don't explain nearly enough.
Yeah, and to Ginger's point, I think understanding the passives of all mons, whether or not you play them, will help you get a better understanding of your opponent too, as well as your lane partner. So just layers upon layers of information. As we are approaching our 2-hour mark, do we have additional information to cover in the team synergy category?
More or less, it's just know how to cover all of your bases in a match. Like I always teach, whenever I coach teams, I always teach them the bubble technique. Is protect your carry, make sure all of your flanks are covered, things like that. If you're picking these mons that don't have the ability to create the bubble, you are leaving your carries and your damage dealers open to getting taken out. So yes, I understand, everybody wants to play the jungle, everybody wants to do the damage, everybody wants to be the attacker. But learning how to play different roles is going to help your team synergize better. And I always tell people at least know how to play 1 or 2 mons out of each role. Like it helps so much when you get into a situation and everyone insta locks their Pokemon. It's like you have a Talon and you have a Talon and a Cinderace fighting over jungle and this and that. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, what am I going to do to help this situation if I just pick another attacker? You know what I mean? Like you're not. So you just kind of do the best you can with what you got, and you pick you pick the tank. You could pick an overpowered tank. Trevenant's incredibly like top tier right now. Slowbro's top tier right now. Like, just pick a strong tank. Who cares? Like, just play it. Play it and play it to the best of your ability. Help your team. Like, you have to remember it's a team game. Help your team. Like,
Right.
understand what they need.
Right. Because it's not just your survivability that's important. It's making sure that the whole team survives, because at the end of the day, you have to be alive to score points, and scoring points wins games.
Yeah. So it's like, you have to be able to win those team fights. You got to be able to put points in. Like, just, you got to know your role, know what you're supposed to be doing.
We love that. Oh, AJ has a question. Go ahead, friend.
All right. Go ahead.
Know your role and shut your mouth. Oh, we're getting a doozy of a question from AJ, I can tell.
Useless on harassers and brawlers. When my team needs one, I have to choose like Slowbro or Mamo. Honestly, understanding a role in general, Ginger, you have to find that one Pokemon that you vibe with and that really fits your play style, and then branch out from there.
Yep.
Because if you just try to like dive into the role and you just like keep trying all these mons and you're like, I don't like how this plays. On top of the fact, usually it's because you don't really understand how the mon is supposed to be played, and that's completely okay if it's out of your comfort zone. But like, you just got to kind of find that one you're like, ooh, I kind of like this, like I like the way that this feels, and then branch out from there. Because once you have an understanding of the mon that you like, then you can have an understanding of how other mons are supposed to be played of the similar role.
So while we're waiting for AJ's question, I will let everybody know. I think I have about an hour to an hour and a half to do some custom lobbies. If any gamers want to hang out and game when we're done with our session here. So just because I haven't played with y'all in a hot minute.
I'll be around. I'll be hopping off of the whole thing, but I'll be around to kick some butt in custom lobbies.
Let's go.
So,
did we lose AJ? Oh, he must be typing.
Yeah, such an intense question.
I know. I'm actually excited now.
We're gonna get an essay.
Mikey's about to be our entire April 1 HP in a Dream contest on his own.
Literally.
Hi, Lily. Oh, he was typing a paragraph.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So we all know the best solo. Okay. Oh, we all know the best solo queue comp is 5 attackers. Haha. When no one refuses to adjust, what are your opinions on even more basic comps, like having an A presser when everyone else goes mage for ripping purposes, or going range when everyone is going melee? I think that's important, especially because there are a lot of people who play solo queue, and you might get stuck with a team that just has their one-trick ponies and every single one of them is an attacker. Like in that instance, what is your best option? Do you go brawler? Do you go disruptor? Do you go healer? Like, what do you do?
Disrupt. If you have a bunch of attackers, disrupt. Like, you have to understand, like, okay, there was I'm trying to remember, there was a content creator a long time ago that said something in one of their videos that was like, solo queue, you have to play the game a little wrong to play it right. And in reference to that, you when you have a bunch of people that have locked in attackers that are locked in like all range, what are they going to be good at? They're going to be good at bursting down people that are melee. So what can you do to help them burst down people that are melee? Stun them in place, and then then all they have to do is throw all of their abilities, and all of a sudden they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So
And you're assuming that they're going to follow through and back you up too. So, but that's a chance that you take in solo queue regardless. I do have a question.
yes.
If you end up in a situation where you have all attackers on your team, you're solo queuing and you have all attackers. Right now we live in a very trying time where Zacian is meta and there's a 99.9% chance you run into one on the enemy team. What, like, does your choice then change? Like, what is the best way to solo queue prepare to combat a Zacian gamer when your teammates are running full mage?
Ready?
Yes.
This is when all else fails, slow bro alt.
Okay.
When all else fails, slow bro alt. I wish that was a joke.
It's not. No, it's not. I'm going slow bro most of the time now. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of bros out there.
Like it's slow bro alt is like the end all be all. It just overrides everything. Like I was watching Gatlu. He was streaming. He's like a really he's a pro player in EU. So I was watching him and he was playing Scyther when Scyther was like super overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing up against a slow bro and he goes, I don't know how a mon like this exists. He's like, I'm a level 12 Scyther and I'm afraid to dive in on a level 9 slow bro because he's just gonna grab me and then I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I hate the slow bro ult.
It's insane. It's a counter for everything. It just so whenever and one of my teammates, K Fraser, he talks about, you know, like whenever there's something overpowered in the game, it's an indirect buff to slow bro because its usefulness just shot through the roof. So
interesting. Doesn't really override a Comfey ult if no one kills the Zacian while in the slow bro ult throw. That's true. Like, but that's what I'm talking about. Like you gotta know who you're gaming with so that you can be prepared to like, especially I think for mages, attackers, for ADCs. Like your ability to stay aware of your situation, like when it's your time to shine, it's your time to shine. Like when your tank or your disruptor or your brawler is going in, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to back that up because otherwise they may just be going into int at that point. You know, unintentionally.
Like when you are playing like a ranged attacker and you see, you know, your tank going for a big CC move, or you see your brawler run in, or you see your flanker wrapping around, like you need to know when to engage. Like you need to know when your follow-up is supposed to be. So I understand, you know, like we're in a meta right now where we're running into a lot of dog collar comps. Yes, Gara, I stole your phrase. Gara. No, but Gara came up with the dog collar comp, but it's true. You know, you're running into Zashi and Comfy all the time. And it's incredibly infuriating. So like you have to be more aware. Like if you have a slow bro that all of a sudden pops an ult, you gotta burst. You gotta jump on top of that immediately. I cannot tell you how many games I have played where a Zacian was just kicking the bricks out of us, like literally the entire match, because it's running around with a Comfey on it, and all of a sudden it gets like a little overconfident and it runs in and a slow bro grabs it at 2 minutes, like right at the 2 minute mark. A slow bro grabs it with Unite move, and then my entire team just dog piles it, and it's gone. It's going to be gone for the next 35 seconds.
Exactly.
And so like it's just being aware of what's happening on the map. And especially in those kinds of situations, like you really, really have to follow up, especially on your defenders and on your brawlers and your flankers. Like you have to follow up and you have to engage. You can't just kind of like keep playing back. Like when it's time to fight, it's time to fight. You got to go.
Nice.
So,
Do we have any final questions in chat before we wrap up today's session of Unite for Noobs? In the meantime, while we're waiting for any follow-up questions, SoLow, do you wanna plug your beginner to masters series again one more time?
At the end of this, I will have my beginner to masters episode number 3 will be going up at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's what? Oh, geez. Noon your time, right?
Yes.
So I'm really bad with time zones. But yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in the next 7 minutes, it'll be on my YouTube channel. And it covers basically everything that we went over, what your role is, knowing what you got, understanding that you should synergize with your team. And yeah, I don't, for YouTube purposes, I don't have the Pokemon you play if you're a bad person slide in there. but no, it would be greatly appreciated if you guys can, go check it out. Once again, I do offer coaching for people that are in intermediate to beginners. So I am very friendly. I'm very hands-on with my coaching. I will adapt to your learning style and will teach you however you need to be taught. So whether that
AJ did have a small question, SoLow. He asked, is Draining Kiss Mystical Fire Sylveon considered a brawler?
Kind of, yeah. It's a mage. It's a weird, like, mage sustain brawler. It's like you are, you kind of like jump around the outside of the fight and, you're throwing your mystical fires in. If somebody hits you, you hit them with Draining Kiss. You're getting your health back. So it's like a little bit of a hybrid. But it's like I've seen teams that will play Sylveon in the all-arounder role. Just build it very tanky. So it's definitely one of the more unique builds. So, but yeah, it's more made for sustain, like Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire Draining Kiss is made more for sustain than anything.
Okay.
And that's another thing that I really want to talk about is understanding what your moves do. Because your moves do so many things.
Yeah, that's a big one.
A lot of people don't understand that your moves have secondary effects, like lowering special defense or raising special attack or things of that nature. And then all of a sudden they're getting attacked in a combo and they don't understand why they just blew up. So
yeah, things that are very important to understand that we don't get a lot of. And, honestly, part of the reason why we do this is because there are gamers like me out there who, have been playing for a while, but there's just so much that they're constantly releasing and updating and changing that, it's like continuing education, right? For your semi-veteran gamers, not necessarily your experienced gamers and your pros. But there's a lot of things that the pros know that we don't necessarily know. So like for somebody who is a casual gamer like me, there's a lot that I just don't know because it's not a requirement for my style of gameplay. However, it's beneficial because especially when you're in ranked, you're going up against a lot of competitive teams that are out there using ranked to ladder climb and they're using it to practice. And, so the chance of running into somebody like Scolded or Spraggles, or even Gatlu and Ender is pretty up there. So, knowing how to adjust, knowing what they know, is obviously helpful. But, even just to know something as simple as your own Mon's passive, your own Mon's moves and what they do, cooldowns and resets, things like that. But also knowing that about every Mon so that when you are going up against, a particular comp, you can identify the comp, you can identify their passives, you can identify, you can start learning to identify when they've procced. One of the big things that I've been learning recently is watching for abilities and taking advantage of cooldowns. Which is also a big thing, but that's also, that's also part of macro micro plays. So
yep.
several layers to this. I honestly, I foresee Unite for Noobs being a very ongoing, series for us, because as mons continue to be released and updates continue to be pushed out, I think there will always be a need for us to learn and educate ourselves so that we can competently participate on some level. So.
Nobody ever wants to be the person talked about in the Twitter clip. Like that's
Yes. And that was exactly why we started this, though.
And so like in addition to my beginner to masters for my YouTube series, I am going to be doing regular updates about patch notes, things like, what does that mean for the Pokemon? Does it take down their viability? Does it up their viability? Things like that. So like I will be doing updates of that nature to keep people, more on par with everything. So because I know a lot of people, there are people out there that patch notes come out, they don't even read them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like there are people that don't even know that updates happen for this game other than the cosmetic stuff. So
yeah, but that's part of the reason that we started this, though, was, it's so easy to get called out anymore in terms of playing this game just because of the level of competitiveness that there is out there. But MOBAs are very complex. And even for a Pokemon game, it's very complex. And so we want to provide a resource for people not to be, the ones having their APIs doxed on Twitter. We want to give you guys a resource that you can come to and you can absorb the information the way that it's comfortable for you and that you can get something out of it. And honestly, I saw about 2 or 3 aha moments collectively in the chat today, which means we've provided something of value here. And that's really all we care about. So I get something out of this every time we do this. SoLow, I honestly cannot thank you enough again for agreeing to partner with me on this and for continuing to devote your time and your energy to this and to put yourself out here for the community. You're the real MVP here, sir. And so I will.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I think this is probably the project that I was most excited about when because obviously like I've been doing a lot of different stuff lately, helping out the community as much as I can. But when you approached me for this, doing the Unite for Noobs and explaining things that people may not know, I couldn't jump at the opportunity quick enough. So
well, I do appreciate you, honestly, and I appreciate everybody in chat showing up with your questions, because it does give us something else to kind of go back and look at too. And for those of you who have been in the chat sharing your experience and your expertise as well, this is definitely a group effort to as a community, to support the community, to nurture the community, to grow the community, and not gatekeep is what we're here for. So with that, I will once again refer you to, SoLow if you want coaching, if you want to check out his video, which should be live right now since it is 12 o'clock on the West Coast, Beginner to Masters on SoLow's YouTube channel. And we will be back on April 16th with session 3 of Unite for Noobs. And for those of you in chat who do want to do some gaming, I'm going to be opening up custom lobbies. I'm going to take a small break right now. I have about an hour and a half. I have to go do some IRL family stuff, but we will be doing some custom games if you guys want to hang out.
And don't play Zacian.
Yeah, please don't play Zacian.
Don't be the problem. Don't be the problem.
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to take a small break. That concludes this episode of Unite for Noobs, but hang out because I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to take a quick break, stretch my legs, maybe refresh my water, and we'll come back and play some games. Thank you so much. I'm a goose. Oh, wait, what is this? Wait, I get to, wait. Oh, okay. Wait. Everybody.
This corner.
No. Oh, that's right. Okay. So I just want you guys to know, I've been asked to polish balls on this map. Who's, Rome? Rome? I'm just, look, they're right.
Yeah. I'm not mad, I'm just very disappointed. You can tell by my eyes, I'm just very disappointed in you.
Listen, I don't make the tasks here, okay? Somebody just told me to polish balls, and I just, I don't know if I should feel honored or attacked.
Don't worry, Mom, the alcohol is kicking in. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so what's our first official order of business? What's the first? Oh shit! Muskrat. Okay. It's Pokey Sir.
Oh my god, they're all here.
Panda.
My
Dipsy also slow.
Panda. I figured out what song I was gonna sing.
Which song are you gonna sing?
I forgot. Oh no, I remembered. Okay, ready? Wait, hold it. Wait, okay. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities. It's how a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities. Okay, so I found it. Okay. Wait.
Get out of here! You're not singing!
Oh, I couldn't get my ult off. Nice.
Still no. Oh, guard.
Nope,
Yeah.
they're all on timer.
Guard top went down.
They're all
4
on
on
timer.
timer. You're starting to pop. Pop back.
Low, low,
I got
low.
one. I got
No shot! Fucking Matt. Hokages? Are you trying to say hostages? What are hokages? Talk to your man. Okay, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay, we're gonna use the dust ball. Let's see if Squirrel gets it right. I just gotta take one of them. That's all I need. They're gonna stick together, man. I just gotta take one of them out.
No, Charlie, what?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
I should have went with my fucking gut.
Was that Champion of Champions? Was that Champion of Champions enough for you, Groceries? Was that Champion of Champions?
Do you have apple on your head?
Fucking put that on my goddamn YouTube. Fuck everybody. You're a fucking big brain imposter. You're a fucking Champion of Champions. Nobody gets to live this one down. You all asked for this. I don't know where I'm going.
You can press tab to check the map.
You need to press what?
Tab to check the map.
Ninera.
There's a map? There's a map!
It shows you where your tasks are and everything.
How you doing? Hey, I can't help but notice. Your tubes there. They look a lot like a collar.
A little bit.
I like it. It's making me feel some type of way.
I'll leave you two to your own devices.